together. You got it? You hear me? I don't hear three-way. Hey y'all, Coach in the Fight here. And in today's video, we taking comments. A comment tile video. I am able to see your comments. I'll give you an opportunity to come in so we can address any comments or questions anybody have. I realized that I could be falling a little bit behind in the schedule as far as the feast day videos is concerned. I hope you guys are smart enough to go in and find the old videos. And I did say smart enough. I didn't, question your intelligence or anything. But some of you don't know that if you simply put in "Coach in the Fight" in quotation marks with the word "Feast of Trumpets," you can find several feast days videos that we've covered in the past. And the Bible never changes, so there's nothing. Well, I can't say there's nothing new. There is some things new as far as the understanding. First of all, the day of the festival. We always have to contemplate that idea every year. But the other understanding as far as the blowing of the horn or the hearing of the shofar, for those of us who are blowing it, we'll start early as far as the 0% moon. But those of us who are hearing it, we have to hear it no later than the 24th. The 24th is the memorial blowing the trumpets, blowing the shofar. I may get to blow mine. No, I didn't draw lots on it or anything. And I did in the other video. But anyway, if you guys got any comments or anything, we got 3 people looking, nobody liking. As far as an update, here is the Hillbilly Homestead. We want to say thank you for all of the equipment you guys have been sending as far as the log cabin. You heard us talk about the trees that we have here, the trees that we can't use for food or anything, and they're actually taking the food away is the thing. And y'all let me know how this sounds, because as far as I'm concerned, y'all may not even be able to hear me. Okay, appreciate that. Somebody heard me. Hey, give yourself a pat on the back. I appreciate that. They know what they did. But anyway, so you guys have sent in the you started sending in. Look, another truck arrived today with some more equipment for working with logs. So we have a few draw knives. We have some of those equipment that used to maneuver the logs around and such, which makes it handy with working with such big logs. Because what we're talking about and thinking about, even more so now, is actually turning some of these sweet gum trees. And that's the thing. The sweet gum trees is what we have in an abundance of. We have oak trees and pecan trees, but those are food trees, so we need those trees. But the sweet gum trees, and so the thing is, how do we work with those? And so we're receiving some equipment. This is what we have. It's perfect so far. We even got some blades here for sharpening the old chainsaw there. So we in there, and we already had a little bit of stuff. So we're really thinking about this idea. Now, for those who are thinking about coming, this is something you can really get in on as far as I'm concerned, because the way I'm understanding the Feast of Tabernacles now, it ain't about building something and then going back to your house. No, it's about building something and then somebody gonna live in that shelter for the rest of the year, even if it's nothing but the tools or the animals, or somebody will live. That shelter will last, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think their tabernacles were as temporary as ours are today. And so that's what the log cabin is about. Hopefully there'll be some that will be around that we can at least identify the trees. If not, go ahead and cut them down and stack them up so they can be drying out. Or we could even start taking some of the bark off of them. That's the hardest part that we've learned here. But now that we have, these knives, it's definitely going to make it easier, way, way easier to have the right tools. But anyway, so we appreciate you guys for that and all your support that you do here at the Hillbilly Homestead. One of you guys sent in a little thing and told me I could do what I want to do with it. A lot of times people, when y'all send me donations, y'all don't really say that at the end. We used to have this one guy used to tell me about beer, and I actually did one day. But you tell me to do it as my will, that gives me a lot of options. And so We do have a house guest here, and I need to talk quieter. I think she's trying to sleep. But we do have a house guest, but she said it doesn't bother her. We're um, I think she said. But anyway, so we were able to buy some groceries, and so we appreciate that. And we talking about old-fashioned Walmart groceries. We went down every aisle in the store and was able to get what we want. And we thank you guys because my wife at the counter, she said, "Wow, Clifford." And I was like, "What you talking about?" She's like, the amount of groceries." I was like, "Talk to your grandma about that because she's the one that maybe understood blah 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 and yada yada yada." And so anyway, I want to thank you guys for that opportunity. Really appreciate it. All right, we got evidence that we really on now. We got comments and stuff. Who we got? We over here by the window. Oh, I'm trying. Who is this? Son of Levi says we can hear you. Son of Levi. I've never seen Son of Levi. This is a first time commenter. Welcome all you first timers here. New to the channel. Let me tell you guys, this channel is about the truth. With a big T, truth. Big T, truth. I just heard from some of the brothers out there in truth music. You can hear, if you guys are new to what they call the truth, you could go in and do a search for truth music. And you will find various artists that are talking about one thing, and that is our going back to the covenant, going back to the law and such. And so that's what this channel is about. It's finding the pathways back. You know, it's easy to get off the pathway and, you know, do what we want, but, you know, anyway. Welcome. He says, "I think I've been watching you since 2019. Yeah, you have. But you probably only watch during feast days and stuff like that. The channel gets a lot of attention during the feast days, and we appreciate all you guys coming by. The reason why we get a lot of attention is not that, you know, I'm special or anything like that. It's just the calendar. A lot of people reference our videos when it comes to when exactly the feast days are. That's what's unique about our channel. That's one of the main focuses of our channel, has been since 2015, matter of fact, dedicated to the understanding, or I should say the re-understanding of how a sacred calendar works. So I appreciate the shout out. In 2019, though, that was a special year. I was up there in Princeton. But anyway, we talk about that, or we did talk about that in another video. We gotta. I might have to go get my glasses to read these. Hold on, I'm gonna be right back. I can take y'all with me. Okay, when I walk away from this very spot, it's gonna get choppy and it's gonna sound. But y'all let me know how bad. We are still working to improve our systems. And so, usually it gets real bad about right here. But anyway. I actually think this window over here is maybe a little better. It's just harder for me to see. Y'all let me know in a different spot now too. But anyway, we got doing life with Mama G. Blessings, we can hear you. Doing life with Mama G. Blessings, we can hear you. Appreciate that feedback, y'all. That's ultra important. That's really important. Like I say, I do this job not out of joy, but out of responsibility. You know, in other words, I hate to say them words. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna say them words because I did one time. No, I ain't gonna say that. Well, let me say that your feedback is necessary. For you guys who are in supervisor position, we go on a tangent when your main complaint about your employees is that you don't give them feedback. You don't tell them when they're doing a good job. You don't tell them you're saying them, you know. And so I appreciate you guys and all y'all do as far as letting us know. But anyway, thank you. Let's see what else we got. Son of Levi say, back when you was doing deep studies on the similitudes. Yes, absolutely. And that's again, I said it the other day on the channel. that is probably the most important thing on the channel is actually the similitudes. He's talking about the book of Hermas, the shepherd of Hermas is where you find the similitudes. But no, I'm gonna take that back. You got commands in there. You got the commands. You can't skip that. You can't jump straight to the similitudes. You got the commands. And then again, you're not gonna understand the similitudes unless you hear the what's the first book? The vision. You got to hear the vision first. So that's important to understand. And for you guys who are new to this channel, what we're talking about is a scriptural document found in the lost books of the Bible, forgotten books of Eden, called the Shepherd of Hermas. It used to be a part of our Bible. At one point, there was at least 68 books in the Bible, not including those apocryphal books in the Old Testament. I'm talking about New Testament books. There was two additional books in the New Testament, the Epistle of Barnabas and the Shepherd of Hermas. Now, the unique thing about those two books, so those books are the only books, and I would argue, we can ChatGPT it if y'all want to, I would argue that those are the only books that tell you how to actually get into the kingdom of heaven. No other book actually gives you an explanation of what you're supposed to do. And you say, what does it say? It says baptism. Baptism is the main thing, you know. That's the Epistle of Barnabas. And then the Shepherd of Hermas kind of breaks it down as far as, you know, the trials that we have to go through and the different steps that it takes and, you know, all of those other things. The Shepherd of Hermas is more, no, I'm not going to say that. I almost said that the Shepherd of Hermas is more of a teaching aid for people who want, but no, absolutely, that would have been a lie. That's untruthful. I only said that to embarrass myself and remind everybody that I am fallible. And that would have been a lie, because the Shepherd of Hermas is actually the only book that we are told to read over and over and to teach. And to read it over and over and to teach. Think about that. What book told us to read it over? Now, the book of Revelation told us to read it to somebody else often, right? Told us to read it to somebody else often. But the Shepherd of Hermas says you have to read it often. And the reason why that is because of like the similitudes. It just takes so much to understand it. You really have to start trying to teach it. And so what he's referencing is a podcast that we have out on the thing. Stacy and I did a podcast back there in 2019. Sounds like. Sounds like it was 2000. It was probably earlier. He's probably just looked at it in 2019. But in this podcast, matter of fact, I know it was more, because it was actually, we did the podcast in 2018, now that I remember. In this podcast, it was actually Stacy's podcast. It's the same time that I discovered the third testament of the Bible, the book of life, or the great book of true life. And so I wanted to actually switch gears and stop teaching the Shepherd of Hermas. I was teaching it up until that point. And Stacy was actually going to start teaching the Shepherd of Hermas as I went on to start teaching the book of life, the great book of life. And it worked very well, extremely well. That's what he's talking about. And so you can see the podcast is actually, if I remember correctly, was it 13 videos? Y'all help me out down in there. I think it was some reason either it was 13 videos or 44 videos to get it all done. And 44 sounds more like the truth. But anyway, so what it is a verse by verse, every word, every verse, every line, every jot, every tittle study of the scripture. Not a reading at all. I think the most we read is one verse at a time, maybe two. I would dare say 3 verses. We don't dare read more than 3 verses, 3 consecutive verses before we add a heavy amount of commentary. And that's important to understand. You know, of course it's leavened. Of course it's leavened. Of course you gotta, you know, try the spirit by the spirit. Well, we didn't did that, but we gotta, you know, what does it say? Eat the meat and chew out the bones. Spit out the bones. Chew up the meat and spit out the bones. Well, that was taken back in 2019. So there was a lot of understandings that we didn't have then, that we have now, and vice versa. Sadly to say, vice versa. But anyway, so you can get that if you go all the way to the channel. If I'm not mistaken, it may be at the store. Christian, if you would, can you tell us if it's in the store and what it would take to actually get that podcast in the store? But I believe it is in the store. He'll give us a link to it if it is in the store. The thing about the store is you can actually download it. And what I dare say, that's one of the only things that I would say to download from my channel with my voice. Now, the third testaments and the readings, yeah, those are necessary to download if you can, when you can get those. But as far as commentary goes, I would say that right there is what I would suggest first. I'm trying to think of what I would suggest second. But as far as actually have something downloaded of my commentary or our commentary, like I said, Stacy and I, that will be it. And the reason why I can say that, I'm still sitting there thinking, am I going to get in trouble with that? But the reason why I can say that because it says to teach. And so it's like, okay, well, teach. If I'm supposed to teach it, well, okay, well, we did. And we thought about starting it over, and doing it again. And if you guys motivate Stacy enough, I'm sure she would get back in the fight on it. But that's going to take you guys' help, as you remember, understanding all of that. But anyway, she was interested. Let me say, the last time and almost every time we talk about the shepherd of Hermas, because she understands it and all that. But anyway, let's go on. Blessings, I can hear you. Back when doing similar to Royal Princess of the Most High says, and she actually is pointing out her coaching the fight thing. Are you? Shalom, coaching the fight, family, peace, love, and light. See, somebody be listening. And since she did that, she about to change the whole game. What I said was I was going to stop reading every comment and only read the comments that was directly toward me. I think that's why a lot of people don't read post comments, is because they don't want to get called out. And so if we can get to the point where I only mention the comments that was important, I should say, because sometimes y'all talk to each other, and that really, everybody don't need to know what y'all talking about. But the only way that would work successfully, because I ain't got the best eyes, and the best eye definitely I got the worst eyeglasses. I don't have the best eyes, but I have the worst eyeglasses. And but praise the Lord for them. Praise guys too for them. Don't order eyeglasses online. My buddy looked me in my face. He said, how in the world are you supposed to get a pair of eyeglasses online? But anyway, I said, you can't. Yeah, obviously it don't work. But anyway, so I can rarely see a lot of that stuff. But if I can see big, bold, and clear, where, I can even see it from here. I'm way over here. I can see this. I'm as far as I can get away. And I can actually see the fact that she put my name in there. So it would be so effective. But anyway, the rest of them, I had to come this close. See if he talking to me or not. Son of Levi said, I make new pages a lot, but I've been watching you for years. All right, so maybe he got something over there on this channel. He make new pages. Oh, that's right. That's what he's talking about. He got what's your old avatar? I probably remember you. If you make a lot of comments, I remember a lot of people that make a lot of comments. Them pretty much the only people I remember is the ones that make a lot of comments. Obviously, if you don't make a comment, I don't know that you was listening. But anyway, if you a lot of you, I do recognize a lot of you guys now who have been around a long time. There's some people that they ain't gonna never be able to hide. Every time they go make a comment, I'm gonna know exactly who they are. They can change everything about their avatar, their name, their address, everything. And as soon as I start reading the first few words, I'm gonna know it's them. But anyway, let's go on. Appreciate that. Appreciate all of that. Like I said, we're still reading. After this one, maybe we're gonna go to the ones that only call a name. Right now, for this one, we're gonna finish reading it because this is a comment video. So I'm absolutely gonna read every comment video. But remember what she did. All she did was put a symbol at the beginning and then the name, and then it highlights the name. I don't know how to do it either. I'm sorry. Anyway, maybe she'll explain it to us. She is a moderator rank she has there, so maybe she'll do us a kindness and explain how to do what she just did up there. All right, let's go on. Audience of one says, Shalom, coach. Now, audience of one is one of them people that recognize from a long time. I believe it didn't change this. Matter of fact, dude, he got another avatar right now. He does. Like he done changed it now. Yeah. See, some people I'm gonna recognize even though they change stuff because of the way they act and the stuff they say and blah, so and that's good. That's good because one day we could all be in the dark and then all we may have is the voices. That reminds me as a Third Testament reference when we go to the spirit world, when we meet in the spirit world. I be pausing to let stuff sink in when I say something. When I think something shut people, I just stop and let them think about it. When we meet in the spirit world, that's how you're going to recognize me. I may not be able to recognize you because I can't hear your voice. You're supposed to be able to recognize my voice. Then, important that you don't see my face. Seeing my face would actually distort the vision. You get into idolatry and all that. But anyway, let's go. Thank you for the shout out. Warrior Prince of the Most High Yah says, sounds good. Son of Levi says, it actually might have been 2018. And yes, y'all introduced me to the Third Testament. Praise Yah. Y'all helped me a lot. May he continue bless y'all. You forgot about me. Yeah, I taught you that. I can say that confidently because, like I was telling my auntie, I made sure that I was the first person to ever give a class on it. Just like the book called The Apocalypse of Elijah. Well, let me tell y'all the long version of how I put that video up. It's one of the most popular videos on the channel. There was a passage in there that Stacy and I was debating over. We were having one of them old-fashioned debates. And this, back in the better days, praise the Lord, Father in heaven, I decided to go to the book that I thought it was in and start reading, and then until I found the passage, because she wanted to see the exact verse. Problem is, I didn't know where it was in the book. Wasn't 100% sure it was in the book. I was pretty sure. Thing about it, the verse was the very last in the last chapter of the book. That what I was looking for was in Eli. We can go pull it up. Somebody go pull it up and read that chapter real quick, and they can tell what verse we were debating. But it was the last chapter in the book of the Apocalypse of Elijah. The Apocalypse of Elijah. The Apocalypse of Elijah. And having sat there and read that whole book, I decided to go on YouTube, praise the Lord Father in heaven, Yahweh, for the inspiration, but only to find out if anybody had ever read it out loud as an audiobook. I searched all over YouTube. I mean, and I know how to do research. But anyway, so just to make sure nobody had done it, and that's why it sounds so raggedy, because I actually used an old iPad that my son had gave us. I still actually have that little, it's not an iPad, but you know what I'm talking about, one of them little thingamabobs. But anyway, so we did the same thing in 2018 with the Third Testament, the Book of Life. Why? Because it too tells us to teach. Don't tell what it says. We have a responsibility to talk about it, and that's why we on here doing live now. My auntie confirmed that I got a lot going on, and so yeah, so that kind of justifies actually having to come on and do it this way opposed to doing videos. But anyway, here's what it is. Let's go on. Starting to ramble. But Scripture tells us it's supposed to give our testimony. So, and it tells us to, tell about this walk and stuff. And the reason why I think that is so that when you guys get on this path, you don't get led astray by, people that will, try to convince us that, things aren't going the way that they're supposed to be for us or whatever. But anyway, let's go on. Son of Levi says, I would even have people send me your calendars in prison. Laugh out loud. Okay, I won't say too much. I'm just grateful. Well, you can't send to prison. Yeah, but I don't mean to laugh, but wow, really? Man, ain't that stuff? That right there is big. First of all, for the person that would dare send you the thing. Then you to get it, that's 2. Now 3, did you share it? Did you teach somebody? Did you leave a stack of them? That would have been a 3rd one. Hey, he's sitting that thing now. Should I go back? You might have to. I want to go back myself. Because I didn't get that opportunity to to do it. The first time I didn't understand the opportunity, and the second time I didn't take the opportunity. Well, I didn't get the opportunity. So maybe the third time I'll get it and take it and all of that. But anyway. No shout out to my neighbor Kenny Yabani. This is Daniel. No. Shout out to my neighbor Connie Ubaami. Alright. That's a shout out. I'll give shout outs. We're gonna start doing this with the where you have to identify and but anyway, so yeah. Should be doing shout outs today. We're taking all comments today. Hopefully you're asking questions either about some of the celestial events that are coming up. We do have an event that's coming up, I'm seeing on September the 19th with relationship to the morning star and the timepiece and that sight piece up there we call the moon. Those align on September the 19th in the morning, no doubt, during the morning time. So let's talk about that for a moment for you guys that are new. One of the things that we're learning, you say you was listening back in 2019. Well, here's some of the stuff, or one of the most important things we've learned since 2019, praise the Lord, is rising at dawn. Being awake and saying our prayer at dawn. We've all heard of meditations. We've all heard of devotionals. My first wife, she is the one who taught me what a real devotional looked like. I mean, she had the daily bread every day. Fresh, not old ones, but she got them delivered. And she had her time every day. And she didn't miss a day. The only problem, though, is that she did it at the wrong time of day. We're never taught in church or anywhere else, except the Third Testament, the Book of Life, that it is necessary to do it at dawn. Now, the Bible does say that. When we did a video on it, and we went back and looked at what the King James Version actually says, what they did with relationship to dawn, and what we found out is that dawn was the most pivotal time for every passage that mentions it in the verse. People were doing everything, and then all of a sudden, when dawn came, they either woke up out of their sleep, or stop whatever they was doing to say that prayer. Now, what happens? For real quick, let's say we done videos on this. So hopefully you guys, all you have to do, like we said earlier, put a coach in the fight in quotation marks and put the word dawn after it. And you'll find all of the videos that we've ever did on dawn. And so you'll have it. But to give it to you real quick, what it is first, when you first wake up, we're saying thank you. And we're not talking out loud. Don't worry about your mate over there sleeping. If they dare hear you, you did it wrong. If they hear you do any of this, you did it wrong. If they hear any of it, because it is silent. We learn spirit-to-spirit communication. And so, but the first thing we're doing is saying thank you. And that's important because we learned that if we actually complain during dawn time, we'll ruin our whole day. Our day will be in a complaint status. So that's why we wake up and saying thank you, because sometimes you don't know what time it is. That's from personal experience. Like I tell you guys, sometimes you don't know what time it is. And so, but once you verify that it is dawn, and then it's the time before dawn, actually, right? Once the sun come up, we know it's already over. You might as well go back to sleep or never wake up, as far as that thing, what we're talking about is concerned. But we have that period where it's getting light outside, but no, we're talking about that time right when it's getting ready to start light outside. That's when we're saying our thank yous, hopefully. I set alarms to do so around that time. Because right there in that time, it's necessary to say at least a 5-minute prayer every single day. What that does is it reconnects us to our Father, actually gets our will. See, it's like this. See, I live alone, at least I used to. And sometimes I be wanting to associate with the kids and the family and such, but it's odd when you go to the door and you look out and there's nobody in the yard. Now I can go over there to their house or whatever, but sometimes you just want to have a good time with them. Well, that's the same with our Father, and there's way more than 8 billion of us in the world. You have to consider the souls that's in the spirit world. So we can actually give him that consideration, I should say, or I could probably come up with a better word, and say, okay, well, if this is the time that he's designated, dawn, then we can do our due diligence to be right there. And all he asks for is a 5-minute prayer. That's the connection point. What are some of the stuff we're praying for? We learn in the third testament of the Bible. We're praying for stuff like those angels that's got to come here and help us. There's spirits out there on other planets and other worlds that are more advanced than we are, that have to actually come through the spirit world back here to actually help us with our daily tasks. I don't know how to farm, make stuff grow out of the ground, but all of a sudden I got to go out. Thousands head of green out here. Such, but I'm praying about it. I'm like that guy that invented the peanut. All you got to do is start praying, not for money, but start praying for our Father that actually invented the greens. He'll tell us how to do it, and that's the case. But anyway, and so that's another thing that we're doing during that time. We're praying for our day. What's going to happen to us, or more importantly, I should say, what we plan on doing that day. I just learned this the other week listening to one of them videos from Elect 144 Gathering on the Book of Life. But I heard it before. You don't hear something, but you don't learn it. It's one thing to hear something. It's another thing to learn it. But I learned it the other day. Yeah, we're supposed to be forcefully thinking on our day, what we plan to do. Do I plan to go plow the field? Do I plan on going harvesting the peas? Do I plan on going to Walmart and going shopping? Do I plan on having a whatever? Whatever it is, you're intentionally thinking it up right there doing because you're praying for his will. You don't necessarily saying, yeah, let me go over here and do this and do that. You're just thinking you already had to do. You know what you got to do. You got to go to the babysitter, got to take the kids to school, whatever you got to do. Well, that's the moment when you actually contemplated that idea, because in praying at that time for that, you're actually instilling his will in his day. And so now he's taking responsibility for your day. And from personal observation, that's at least, or it could be as much as 6 hours to sunset. And I would dare say, I believe, or I think, let me add that, I think we kind of need to do it again at sunset. I don't do it all the time at sunset, but I don't pray 3 times a day either. I'm working on myself too, but I think we at least got to do something again. But we don't have that requirement. Don't mix up what I'm saying about requirement. Understand when I start talking that, I start wavering. My wife said I start studying when I start making up stuff. But I also start saying stuff like I think and I feel and I believe. To let you know. But what I know for a fact is that he asked for 5 minutes. He said you can pray longer if you want. You can pray till you fall back to sleep if you. He said it's a good idea. He says if you pray till you fall back to sleep, that lets you know you was in the spirit. Now what does that mean to us? We have to go all the way back to Psychology 101 when he talks about that hypnotic state between that when you're awake and when you're asleep. So he's saying when we are praying, well, like we do normally, I'm putting it now, this is what I believe, I should add that. What I believe he's saying is that when we are start off our prayer, but then we are saying our prayer in the moment while we're going to sleep, we enter that hypnotic state. And then we know for sure we're in the spirit world then, but who cares, we're asleep anyway. But anyway, let's go on back to the comment section. I want to know more about that. Just ask below. I'm going to go on. It's in the book of Hermas. You spelled it wrong. All right, who is this? Doing life with Mama G? Oh, no, you spelled that wrong. And it's important to know that. No, absolutely not. The answer is no. Flat out no. If we was taking a test, I'd give you 10% for putting your name on the paper. That right there, and the thing is, we may have to have a meeting after class. Depends on how you react to that. We may have to talk after class, because there's actually another book called Hermes by that name. And it's called the Book of Hermes. No, and it's actually the opposite. The book of Hermes to the shepherd of Hermas is to the third testament of the Bible by Martinez versus the third testament of the Bible by T.R. Ross. They're the opposite. then what you looking for? Like, for, like opposite. And I'm gonna hesitate to say that. 100% emphatically, because they are different books. But I have to admit, I have not read the book of Hermes. All I know, and this is what I know for a fact, is every time somebody starts talking about the book of Hermes, they start talking weird stuff. I'm just gonna say weird stuff. And when I look up and try to find out what the book of Hermes is, it seems like a source of weird stuff. And they do these spiritual stuff, and that's why I hesitate to shamefully say or whatever, but it's beyond Third Testament kind of spiritual and more into the esoteric kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know anything about that stuff. I ain't never read that stuff. I don't know about that stuff. Yeah. And so, but I do want to stress it so emphatically, because like I said, everybody who comes in and makes the and talks about the book of Hermas, talk about the ones that actually read it. Not this guy. He's asking a question. There's a big question mark behind his thing. But the ones who actually read it and say you guys are talking about Hermes, they say you guys are talking about Hermes and y'all doing and saying all of this esoterical stuff. And we're like, what are you talking about? Well, it says in the book of Hermes this esoterical stuff. And we're like, we're not reading that same book, but it's got the similar name. And we're like, it's not the same at all. Not the same name at all. One is Hermes and one is Hermas. And they both in the Bible actually in the same verse. So that's funny. Yeah, both of them are mentioned in the Bible in the same verse. Hermes and Hermas. Paul wrote about them. All you got to do is do a search for Hermas, Hermas. But you're going to also find Hermes. Now, is he the one who wrote the other book? That's why I'm kind of backtailing, if you can't tell, fishtailing the book of Hermes. Like I said, I ain't never read it. But I need to. I need to quit taking people's opinion on it, what it is. I need to go crack it for myself. I ain't read it in the book in a long time, so I may do that. But I still hold to the fact that it's not the same book. It ain't nothing like it at all. Just like that book from Martinez on the Third Testament. That ain't scripture. That's that dude. That was his opinion and what he was talking about. And you find that before you even get to verse 2. Before you even get to verse 2, you realize that. And so my point is, what you're looking for is the shepherd of Hermas. The shepherd of Hermas. The most important book on the planet right today. What about the Bible? What about the Third Testament? You say we need more than just Okay, well, let's slow it down. How does the Third Testament outweigh the Old Testament? The Old Testament, the most weightiest part in all, and I'm waiting for the inspiration right now. So, anyway, the Old Testament has the law in it. It's all about the law. Before they got the law, when they got the law, after they got the law, and what's going to happen if we don't keep the law, or what's going to happen when we do keep the law. It's all about the law. The thing about that, we're supposed to already read that. We're supposed to already done had that. We're supposed to have already been in that from the beginning. We didn't have that book since before we was born. We done went to church and heard about them same stories. We know about Moses leaving Exodus. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, you had Pharaoh, you had Exodus, but what happened the next day? The next day they stood under a mountain and heard the law. That's in chapter 20. Chapter 21, 22, and 23 is the law. Those are the 4 chapters that make up the law. So how can the shepherd of Hermas be more important than that? Okay, well, if you was in a fire and all you could grab was one book, why would you grab the book that you done already read? Why wouldn't you grab the book that they tried to hide from us? So yeah, I think I squirmed out of that enough. But what about the New Testament? In the New Testament, we learn the Beatitudes. Think about the New Testament, we learn a lot from Paul. And we can learn a lot from Paul. But the thing is, Paul was a stepping stone to get back to Moses. Paul's that middle dude. But we got Peter in there. We got Jude in there. We got John in there. Matthew, a few others in there. We were supposed to have the shepherd of Hermas in there. It was actually a part of the New Testament, like you said earlier. But it was taken out. That's why we have 66 books. They kept taking them out, reducing them down to that number. I think the shepherd of Hermas may have been the last one they took out. That in the Epistle of Barnabas. The shepherd, but again, we were supposed to read the New Testament, and they're gonna be stuttering again. But that ain't enough. That ain't enough. I mean, plus I don't want to use the same excuse twice. We should have read that already. So how is the shepherd of Hermas more important than all of the New Testament? Again, if the house is burning down, or whatever, we hear, and they come in and say you can have this book or that book. That's the only one you can have. You can have the whole New Testament, or you can have just the shepherd of Hermas. Now, if you smart, you'd be like, can you throw the Epistle of Barnabas in there, please, with it? Can you throw that one in there, please? You'd be trying to negotiate with them. But you would absolutely get the shepherd of Hermas. Why? Because, first of all, it was supposed to be a part of that set. They broke the set up, first of all. That's important. Why don't you need the extra part of the set? Secondly, it is actually the commands of the New Testament. I mentioned the Beatitudes, but them ain't commands. Them Beatitudes. That's an attitude. That's an attitude. I was talking to somebody earlier today about the attitudes where it talks about the persecutions and how those who speak for this will have to go through certain persecutions, yada, 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 yada. That's just that. That ain't the law. That don't give me no commandments. All that tell me is I got a whole bunch of crap coming my whole life. I almost cussed. I mean, all that telling me what it got to do with the way I live my life. I can be happy about it. I can be sad about it. And, don't matter. I ain't breaking nobody. I ain't breaking the covenant. Where's the rules at? We got all these rules in the Old Testament. Where are the rules at the New Testament? Some of y'all think I don't know what I'm talking about. I challenge you to put it down in the comment section. You don't have time delay. Where are the rules at for the New Testament? I already said Beatitudes. That's Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7. But then I'll disqualify them and say, no, this is about attitude. Blessed is he who is hungry now. Blessed is the poor. Blessed are the meek. Blessed is the poor in spirit. Is the peacemaker. What are the commands at? Think that I have come not to take away the law. I have come to fulfill the law. Where the commands at? He ain't telling us to do nothing.